Good morning. It's just before 9 a.m. on the east coast of Florida. We have a lot of very important breaking news to get to. And yes, I'm still wearing the bright reddish colored lipstick to show solidarity, not only for women, but also it is Black History Month and also for any of the marginalized communities and, of course, what is happening in our country and across the world right now. So first of all, I want to address something that is happening in legacy media and here in social media. So we know that 4 days ago, Trump's FCC chief opened investigations into NPR and PBS. And this is his chairman, Brendan Carr, trying to say, quote, "I'm concerned that NPR and PBS broadcasts could be violating federal law by airing commercials." This is just an excuse because the FCC does not directly regulate those two networks. Instead, it evaluates the actions of roughly 1,500 public broadcasting stations across the country who hold licenses granted by the FCC. So not even supposed to be doing this anyway, but they're trying to, of course, unravel federal funding for all public broadcasting because both of those have been seen as some of the safe places to get your news. Now, what about getting your news on places like this platform? Well, that has been problematic because so many content creators on here are having issues with even getting their content to be seen. It's being pushed down or shadow banned, but even if it is seen, they are actually not getting monetized for it the way they were for the exact same content. And this has happened in basically just the last few weeks, maybe even a month and a half. It's getting worse. And so I never made a lot to begin with at all, but whatever little teeny tiny amount I made, now it's literally pennies, where maybe it was, $1, now it's like, 10 cents. And when you multiply that in higher numbers for content creators that are very dependent on that, and you have to understand, yes, a lot of us are doing this to get the message out and to do what we can to help this entire situation and inform and fight misinformation. It is extremely time consuming. It is also now very draining mentally, emotionally, and there is just so much coming so fast, which of course is the intention in the shock and awe, that it is hard to cover this. And so for us to even have a little bit of monetization helps to kind of justify what we are taking away from our families, ourselves, you name it. So what can we do about all of this? Well, what I have been doing all along is I am pushing follow for everybody, no matter if they just have a couple of followers and are not on a big platform. If they are, definitely, you have to do the research to make sure who they are, what are they really doing. But if they are helping to combat misinformation and getting out the agenda that we are trying to do here in this, shall we say, Underground Railroad times, but not be on the conspiracy train, but in the actual real world here. We need to make sure that content gets out there, that it keeps going. We need to encourage the people who are struggling because of emotions, because of time, because of monetizations. So again, follow, repost. It takes a second to do that, folks. It takes a second to put a like. It takes a second to, make a couple of comments. But the important thing is you have to show that you want that content so that people can make a case for themselves trying to say, no, our content is wanted and needed here. And many people, of course, are going to other safe platforms, the two with a U, the sky that is blue. I am on both of those, same name as here. And most everyone here will have the links in their bio. Click on the little circle there, go to their page, go to the bio. It will show where they are and even have a link to that. That is what I have. But that said, these other platforms take longer to build and it's harder to get as big an audience for these very important messages. So please, let's all work together on this. How else can we combat what is happening right now? Well, you need to pace yourself, but if it is safe for you and if it is mentally okay and physically okay to do things, you need to be helping every campaign, no matter how, down the line, localized or whatever it is, for every Democrat across the board, for the ACLU, for whoever it is. If you feel that you want to file any type of legal actions because you feel that any of your rights are being affected, you need to find out and do those things, because there are rights that are being affected and things that are happening that is not normal or legal in this country. And we can't just do the pearl clutching and the things that Democrats do, and we can't wait for somebody to save us. We have to stay together. We have to stay on message. We cannot splinter and go, woe is me, and who's going to do this? That's how we got here in the first place. Things like Roe v. Wade, civil rights things, they all should have been codified and protected decades ago. And when people try to say, well, the never Trumpers, you know what? It is a never Trumper, because he is a convicted felon of 34 felonies. He denied and had the big lie of the election in 2020, which was untrue and false. He also has been said that a judge said he can be called a grapist. He has committed and is liable for massive fraud. Again, these are facts. And he said he would be a dictator for day one. So no, that is a never that guy. He is not even a successful businessman, for the people who thought, well, you know, we already tried that little experiment. It didn't work. And how about the other rich guy who, of course, is not a born U.S. citizen, so he could not be put in as president. And of course, we all know who I'm talking about, Elonia. But he did a go-around. And in fact, he also has, of course, more money than anybody in the entire world by far. However, his social media platform, formerly known as Twitter, which he did with that what he is now doing to our government and our federal agencies in his Doge, the made-up thing that isn't even a real department, and they should not be having their fingers into all of our into our social security numbers, into all of our identification things, but they do. And so Elon Musk, let's just remind everyone that when he shelled out $44 billion to take X private, he also, when he bought it less than 2 years ago, it is now worth 80% less than when he purchased Twitter and is now known as X. 80% less. And yet these are the people that are saying they're going to make everything more efficient and make it all better and cut all the red tape and the bureaucracy. No. And that's why Trump admitted on Sunday that, yeah, things are going to get a little worse for Americans for a while. And Elon said the same thing before the election. There's a new valuation from Fidelity that says that X is now worth just $9.4 billion, a far cry from the $44 billion that Musk paid for it. Now, interestingly, Jasmine Crockett is saying that there are many of her colleagues of Republicans on the other side of the aisle who are not fans of Elon Musk. And she said yesterday on the Sunday news programs on MSNBC, quote, "Can I tell you that Republicans want to see Elon go down? I can. Now, will they come out publicly and say that? No, because they're concerned about whether or not he'll spend money in their next elections." And of course, that is where everybody is operating from, is fear, overwhelmed, and just not understanding the true nature of what is happening here, even though many of us understood it long ago and tried to warn. Anyway, she went on and said, there were Republicans that silently or in the background were cheering us, meaning the Democrats, and saying, this is wrong. Like they knew we had negotiated, and all of a sudden, here's this guy who's not elected, and he is calling all the shots. She is urging the Republicans who are critical of Musk behind the scenes to speak up, saying this is their time to rise up and do what is right. And she is saying about Musk having all of this access to federal funds, quote, it is really awful and terrifying. Now, we are also learning that Musk is threatening to fire federal employees who leak information as he and Trump unleash this chaos on our government. Go to part 2. This is all important.